Unfortunately, that is not the only tragedy that happened over the weekend in the area.
Let's bring in Catherine Marsh now. Catherine, you are from Jacksonville. We want to get your perspective because you can also tell us about some other shootings that have happened really in that same area.
That's right, Chris and Jane. It's really hard to imagine something like this happening anywhere, but especially when it happens near your home, that's just extremely heartbreaking. Now, while we're devastated over the lives lost and for the several other people that were injured in yesterday's mass shooting, unfortunately, that is not the only tragedy that occurred over the weekend. One person was shot and killed and two others were injured at a shooting at a high school football game on Friday night. Now, that was just 2 days before the mass shooting and within a couple miles of the mass shooting that occurred on Sunday. 19-year-old man was killed and a 16 and 17-year-old were injured at Rains High School Friday night. Police have yet to identify any suspects in this case. And to really put this location into perspective, Rains High School is less than 7 miles away from where the mass shooting occurred 2 days later at the Jacksonville Landing. The grandmother of the young man who lost his life is just completely devastated and pleaded for an end to gun violence.
All this killing going on, these young boys, y'all need to stop. Get a job and work. All the killing out here, it needs to stop.
And to name a few other tragedies that have occurred near the Jacksonville Landing, back in January of 2017, 2 teens were shot near Hemming Park in Jacksonville, Florida. Now that's less than a mile away from the Jacksonville Landing. Also 12 days after that in 2017, a 16-year-old was killed and 13-year-old wounded in a double shooting in front of the Jacksonville Landing. Now this morning we're learning that law enforcement in the Jacksonville area is talking about and looking into increasing security in that area to, of course, avoid from something like this happening again. Now, we don't know exactly what the security measures are yet, but of course, once we learn more, we will let you know. Chris and Jane.
Catherine, you're from the Jacksonville area, familiar with the landing. Can you tell us, do families feel safe? What is the general feeling about that area?
You know, Chris and Jane, it's hard to tell because it is such an up-and-coming area. I myself am from the beach area, so we kind of stayed more towards that area, but it is a beautiful spot. I mean, it's right along the St. Johns River. There's restaurants, live music, gyms. I mean, tons of places that families and kids can go. Although I never went myself, or I did a few times, it's somewhere that you should be able to feel safe. It has the environment of, say, right here in downtown Fort Myers, right? You've got some live music, restaurants, places that you can really walk around, especially when you're right in front of the water. They're right along the St. Johns River up there in Jacksonville. It's a beautiful spot for families to be, so there shouldn't be a reason that they shouldn't feel safe there.
Sad. All right. Thank you, Catherine.